If three's a crowd, then the NFC South is pretty crowded. Three teams now 2-0 at the top of the division after the New Orleans Saints held off the Carolina Panthers 20-7 at Bank of America Stadium. Speaking of Bank of America Stadium, Ross Jackson from Locked On Saints at Bank of America Stadium joins me now. And Ross, this is a Saints team that has now won a pair of close games to get to that 2-0 with Derek Carr under center. This one they really had to ham and egg put together. Taysom Hill trying to sticky tape and glue together an offense here. How are they doing this?
Yeah, in what might be at the moment the most unsustainable way on offense possible. The key to the New Orleans Saints offense right now seems to be lull the opposing team to sleep during the first half, hit a deep shot to Rashid Shaheed and/or Chris Olave, and then score one, maybe two touchdowns, and then see if that ends up putting you out over the top. But honestly, it really does come down to for this team, the sustainable part of what it is that they can do is that they can win with defense. This is a team right now that hasn't allowed 20 or more points in the last 10 games, and that is a franchise record for this team, and that puts them in position to win games for now.
If you could nitpick the last two, right? But 10 games, that is a different kind of sample size. Like, sure, okay, week one, Ryan Tannehill plays terrible. Then you get the rookie Bryce Young, but still, now we're talking about half a season here. What about this offensive experiment, though, Ross? Because if this team wants to be a playoff team, wants to be someone that is a factor in the NFC, they're going to have to get this offense figured out. What do they need to do better to get there?
Yeah, I think it all starts up front. It's got to be protection first, be able to buy Derek Carr a little bit more time to be able to take advantage of some of those weapons that are out there. We saw today, or this evening rather, a rushing attack of over 130 yards, which is vastly improved from what they did last week against the Tennessee Titans, 2 times that. And these are both, challenging fronts in terms of the Titans defense and the Carolina Panthers defense. But there are going to be tougher challenges out there. And if New Orleans wants to be able to put together a recipe on offense, not to use a food pun on a New Orleans team here, but if they want to put together the recipe for the right gumbo, I guess you can say, the run game has to be a part of it. Protection up front has to be a part of it. The Saints have some really good weapons on offense, but they need the time to be able to, or they need to buy Derek Carr the time to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, a little protection, little time. Now you got a stew going, and you're in really good shape.
There you go.
The problem
we call it gumbo down south, though. We don't do stew.
Running backs for the Saints, though, 21 carries, 65 yards. It was Taysom Hill. It was all Taysom Hill in this running game, 9 for 75 in this one. How sustainable is the Taysom Hill of it all?
I think one of the reasons that the Saints struggled last year was because they didn't use Taysom Hill enough. And so if anything, this was a good diagnosis opportunity.
Ross, are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that insane? Isn't that wild? But really, I mean, you think about like what it is that worked and didn't work last year. A lot of times in the red zone on short yardage situations, they didn't turn to Taysom Hill. And so being able to see them do that a little bit more here. And hey, look, a couple of touchdowns from undrafted free agent Tony Jones Jr., who's been on 3 teams in the last 12 months and loved getting a phone call to return here to New Orleans, I guess didn't hurt either. But I think you look at that. But then you also have to consider that after their game against Green Bay, they get Alvin Kamara back as well. That should provide them a little bit of boost to their run game, and they have a rookie and former TCU running back Kendre Miller that they haven't even gotten the chance to see yet. So, it's been a lot of Taysom Hill in this game. It's probably going to be a lot of Taysom Hill in Green Bay next week, but eventually they're going to have to move off of that and get some of these other running backs and producing in their run game.
Yeah, former Green Bay Packer Taysom Hill.
That's right.
No one in Green Bay forgets that, by the way. Now that we're hungry, let's finish up here quickly with Derek Carr. Evaluate him for me through 2 weeks here with the Saints.
I think the word I would use for him is persistent. Maybe I would go so far as to say resilient. But I think the biggest thing with him is that he's somebody that has a short enough memory and is a good enough leader that when they struggle through these first halves, these first 2 games, that he can bring this team back. And they rally around him. They believe in him and he believes in them. And that's enough for them to be able to put things together and get things fixed in the second half. You just want to see them get started there. So for all the slow starts or for all the resiliency and all that, the slow start is the thing that's going to get in their way. He's got to get that fixed, as well as this New Orleans Saints offense if they want to win more games.